So a very, very warm welcome in studio. Today we are speaking to Alderlady Venolea Fortuin, who carries the heavy portfolio of Speaker. Tell us a little bit more about the person behind the portfolio.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute honor to share with the listeners this morning a bit of myself. So, behind the face and the name is a person who was once a very, very young girl who volunteered various organizations and was very much excited at the time to become involved being a community activist, both in the sports sector but also volunteering at the local police stations over weekends. And I think that sparked the feeling of wanting to get more involved in the community. So at a very young age, I was about 17 years old, volunteered at the police station, and then I got involved in a rugby club. The next thing, I was the chairperson from being the secretary, and the next thing, I was just totally blown away by the fact that I understood at the time that I just wanted more. I think that's where my political career started. I am a happy wife, married for 13 years. My husband is my absolute support base, my go-to. He allows for me the space to love my passion, and that I absolutely respect and value from him as a person. He also supports, he's there on the bad days, but he's also there on the very good days. I'm lucky to still have my father, who's currently both father and mother. At times when I take too long to visit home, I would get a call and he would remind me, okay, I don't know how you look anymore. But he would always also be the one to say, I got a feeling, I had a dream, and I think you now need to go to the Bible. His favorite scripture for me is Psalm 91, and he would remind me because he understands that I operate and function in a domain where it's not always good. Working with so many people across the spectrum, but I'm happy. Of course, Christ is my first and firm foundation. Without God, I'm nothing. I believe absolutely that He has called me for a time such as this. He has also prepared me. I'm lucky to be a third-term counselor, and I think for God having allowed me such grace to still be able to serve not only in the municipality but our town and across the board. I think that I was absolutely at the time in line with the purpose when I just said, okay, I'm sticking up my hand, I'm raising it. I want to become part and take up a seat at the table in order to influence change. Yes, I am not without any mistakes. I'm a normal person. I easily cry, but I can also be very, very much strict. Definitely not a walkover, because over time you need to understand when you're in politics, you must be able to be bold and have a backbone that I do have. But there's also a soft side to me, both as a woman, but also as somebody who understands that there's life also beyond politics, and that makes me a normal human being. So that is who I am. I love nature. I love our beautiful town. I love good food. I love spending time with family. I love good wine. And I can safely say that I'm just a normal person, but I'm happy to be able to be part of a greater plan for our town and humbled to be the speaker of the municipal council.
Alderlady Fortuin, so you've walked the walk and talked the talk now for 3 years. What are the highlights and the successes that you would like to point out?
Thank you very much for the questions. I think the past 3 years have been that of of some change. but also absolutely glorified success. I can safely say when we came into council post the last local government election, we were a new team, and as you know, with the new team coming in, some refer to us as the new kids on the block, and you would understand that there would be a lot of people looking from the outside to see, okay, now we're going to see what's going to happen here now. But I can say that the community has absolutely welcomed the change. Some of us coming back, being having been in the council for a decade, that of course brought the balance of experience and some new fresh blood and new expertise coming in. So it was a whole new team that I think was ready to take the municipality to the next level. And boy, oh boy, in the past 3 months, 3 years, sorry, my apology, I think we have done exceptionally well from various awards received across our directorates, finance with a clean audit, community services with our libraries, the technical department with their accolades, community safety, having launched the first K9 unit for the municipality. I think that was absolutely one of the highlights. And then, of course, our other directorates, which is corporate services, which has made some great strides. We just very recently had a representative from HR going to represent to the other municipalities in the province, and people wanting and tapping into the expertise of Mossel Bay municipality is evident of the fact that we absolutely on the right track. I think with the sound financial status that we do have, that is one of our great successes also, building on a firm foundation that we had. But also I can say to the residents, one of the greatest things that we have managed to achieve was being able to build excellent relationship with our stakeholders, including the public, the private sector, local organizations, church, sports federation, and that links into the 5-point plan of our executive mayor, which was adopted by council, and we're loving that absolutely, to show that we're not leaving anybody behind. As much as we have challenges, and I want to say this to the listeners, they will always be, because no organization, no vehicle can go without having challenges, either setbacks or so. But beyond that, we've managed to achieve so much. A culture in our organization where people have space and freedom to come to work on a daily basis and to contribute effectively. Within the municipality, you would have people been here for over 40 years, that's 4 decades. Even if it's only 10 years, one would have to ask, what doesn't make a person stand up every day to come to the same office, to the same doors, wanting to be there. I think that is something that we, as a council, has also successfully contributed, because we live a culture of appreciation and mutual respect. One of our biggest successes, as much as there has been great awards, we have been able to, with our slogan, Iconic Mossel Bay, rise to the number one destination. We've got excellent partnership with the local tourism office, and our economy and tourism is buzzing. One of the things that we have been able to successfully do, the executive mayor leading from the front, being young and vibrant. He comes with so much energy, and he pulls together a team that is backing him 100%. One of our greatest successes, he sets the tone, and we lead. And for that, I think as a council, we're very much fortunate and proud to have had that as one of our successes. Of course, myself being the first female speaker, I think that is one of our greatest achievements. We have managed to raise the bar. Those who have been before me laid a solid foundation, but I've been able over the past 3 years to build successfully on that, and I can safely say that we have a council that operates and function on mutual respect. You can see when one watch the news or see videos, TikTok videos on Facebook, or just social media or the newspaper for that matter, things not going well in other parts of the country, in municipalities, and we are fortunate in Mossel Bay. There has not been any major incidents in our council chambers. There has been difficult times, but I've been fortunate to steer us in the right direction as legislation requires, guided by the rules of order. And I think that's a great accomplishment because people would often say and think once there's a woman in the hot chair, you would want to know, oh, is this now going to work out? And I'm very aware that people had that concerns, but I am also gracefully humbled to say that God has kept me and He's been able to allow for me to do what I need to do, and have the council respect me for the role that I play. It's mutually. I give them respect, they give me respect, and our council functions on that. That also, I can say, is the case with our administration. You can look in our beautiful, iconic town, it's green. We've managed to plant so many trees. It has been one of the 5-point plans or goals for this term set by the mayor, adopted by the council. Just look around, beautiful, beautiful in our town. And then, of course, also our administration, it's speaking because they are committed and they do have the relevant support. I think also one of the greatest successes is the political stability, because as much as people do not want to acknowledge it, it is something that I can say it is a success, because that allows for, once there's stability, it allows for progress. It allows for people to feel safe and for people to know that as residents of this town, we do not have to worry as there's a dire picture elsewhere in the country. We are still fortunate having adequate roads. You switch on the light at night when you go home. You open up the tap for clean drinking water. And as much as we still have a lot to do, we have certainly also accomplished a lot, which I'm very proud of.
You've elaborated a lot on the successes of the current council. What would you perceive as being your greatest legacy when you leave this term or move into another position?
Thank you very much for the question. I think one can say, wanting or having to leave a legacy behind. I think it is about how you positively have been able to contribute to the success of the greater team, the greater organization. And I think one of the greatest legacy for me and council would be to have established an environment in our organization where people feel appreciated, where people feel valued, as our staff component who spend 80% of their day at the organization serving all the residents of our town. I think that would be one of the greatest things. Then, of course, also personally for me, being the first female speaker, at some time there would have to be another Venolea. And when that time comes, I think I would want to hand over the baton and safely say that I have set the tone for females to rise and to hold this position gracefully, and also in terms of leaving a legacy behind for our council to say that we have progressed and that we have managed to positively change or at least contributed effectively to the livelihoods of all our residents. Having Mossel Bay, being the iconic Mossel Bay, be an economic hub where people have jobs and, of course, where people are safe, where people live in an environment where they can wake up, go for a jog, go for a walk, or either walk to their place of work knowing that they are safe, but also for people to get up in the morning and to say, but this is where I want to live. I think that is one of the greatest legacies that I wish for our council to leave behind when our term of office comes to an end in 2026, for our residents to be able to see, yes, 5 years back, this is where we were, but we have now progressed to this stage, and that our council has done a phenomenal job in doing so, and then leave that foundation for those who will come back after 2026 to build on. Thank you very much.
Speaker, can you perhaps explain to us what is the general flow in a council meeting?
Thank you very much for the question. So our council meetings has got a set time. The last Thursday of every month is the monthly council meeting, except when there are urgent things that needs to be brought before council. That's when the speaker does have sort of the authority to call a special council meeting within the prescribed rules of order, and should legislation require for council to take an urgent decision. So that could either be on in any day or any time, but the set time for our council meeting, last Thursday of every month, we start at 9 o'clock. We always open with scripture reading and prayer. So my office would invite a different pastor or a member from the community to come and share the word of God with the council, and we've always been open to that. Then I would do the normal opening up of the council meeting, where I would welcome everybody. The apologies would serve, and then from there we would move into both councillors and administration having to declare their interest in possibly one of the items on the agenda. And then from there, we would then move into the minute section of the previous council meeting, because you would have to approve the minutes from the previous council meeting, and should there be any questions from that minutes arising from it, then that also serves, and there's an opportunity for every councillor to ask whether it's corrections or so. That gets dealt with. Then also the committee meetings, the agendas and report, it serves before council. That's the next thing which needs to be approved. It gets taken cognizance of. And then, of course, the executive decisions of the municipal manager in terms of legislation and his delegated authority that serves, and council would also have to approve that. Following that, both executive mayor and deputy mayor resolutions in terms of the delegated authority that both of them have, that also serves. And then from there, the communications which allows for the executive mayor to address council and give some sort of feedback report in terms of what happened throughout the month, or important things that the mayor needs to communicate to both council and the residents, because the council meetings are open to the public. And then from there, the speaker also does have an opportunity to present any communications from the office of the speaker. And then if there's any written questions, questions from any councillor, because they do have that privilege and opportunity to submit in writing questions, which they are allowed to then post or discuss in the council meeting. And straight from there, we go into the agenda. Never a set time, because there is various items that serve before council, which council needs to resolve on. Sometimes the debates are very, very much not short, but also not too long. Councillors does also have an opportunity from the various political organizations to ask for caucuses, which allow for them to leave the council chamber, debate, take an informed decision, come back, and then speak or address council to say, this is now the position before they need to resolve. And then, of course, the Speaker allowing every councillor, as per the rules of order, his or her opportunity to speak in the council chamber. Some days we laugh, some days the debates are very much heated, but always at the end of every council meeting, in the interest of Mossel Bay, we end off a respectable, where I would always take the opportunity to thank the council. Also in the council meetings, both the municipal manager and the directors, they have the opportunity to respond to questions from the items on the agenda, in particular when it is a question directed to a specific directorate of which the relevant director is responsible for, and in the council meeting to respond. I can safely say over the past 3 years, it has been my absolute pleasure to chair, as the chairperson of council, our municipal council meetings.
You elaborated very well on how the council meeting is conducted, and I think touched also on your role as the speaker. What would you say are the most important attributes that a speaker should have to perform this role?
Thank you very much. That's quite interesting and I wouldn't say tricky, but tongue in the cheek tricky. But in my opinion and my experience, I often switch on the television and I would follow the parliament sessions. I would look at how it gets done, the procedures, and how the speaker has such a huge role in ensuring that, the business of the day gets attended to. So in my opinion, it is a sort of a mixed masala pot. You come in and you must be neutral. That's the very first thing as a speaker. You sit there without taking sides. Your responsibility is to steer the council meetings based on the rules of order of council, which you have to apply fairly across the spectrum. Attributes: the speaker, of course, must absolutely be somebody that is a very good listener, because you must be able to listen in order to interpret and to understand, because sometimes conflict arises from, not, you're either misinterpreting or you're not understanding or hearing correctly the way the next person is expressing him or herself. So I think a very good listener. And then, of course, I can say patience, because you sit there and you do not have the time in your own hands. There would be days that a council meeting would go on until 2:00 in the afternoon, from 9:00 in the morning, but there would be days that it will conclude at 12:00 also, depending on what the agenda is. And patience is absolutely key. Of course, you must have an open spirit, in my opinion, because you must be open. You have to sit there. Of course, councillors will criticize you when they feel, okay, now the speaker was a bit too hard on me and the speaker wasn't fair here. And you must be able to acknowledge when you make a mistake. cannot sit there as, yes, I am the boss and what I say goes and I am now the ruler. You can't. Because first of all, you're a servant and you must understand that you are responsible to pull the whole team together and take them on a journey through the whole council meeting. So you sit there, you listen, very good. You are patient, your spirit is absolutely open because you must understand that we are different individuals. We are diverse. Not only in the color of our skin, but also our background. Some people they talk soft, others harder, and you would have to absolutely keep the balance. So it is an absolutely mixed masala of being patient, having an open spirit, having an open mind, a clear understanding that this is now where you need to know. I now need to go to the rule book. Because this is now a transgression, and as the speaker, I must now see to it that it gets addressed, but also very, very much strict. You must be able and willing to have your backbone because that is what is required of you. You sit there in that powerful position and you are bound to legislation because whatever decision the council make, you would be part of it, whether it's a right or a wrong decision. And as the speaker, you are guided by legislation and the rules of order. And of course, the constitution of this country. You must be sure that you adhere and not do anything outside of legislation. So you ethical, your ethics must absolutely be in line. And I think that is one of the most important attributes.
It sounds like a great weight on your shoulders.
Absolutely not an easy task.
People often ask, what is the role of a ward councillor? Could you explain that?
Thank you very much for the question. First of all, listeners, a ward councillor gets elected by the voters of his or her ward. So Muscle Bay's got 15 wards. So we would go into a local government election, and through the relevant party processes, somebody would be nominated. There would be a face on the poll and a name on the ballot, which people get the opportunity to choose who he or she would want them to represent. So once you get elected as a ward councillor, you come in and you represent that ward, that specific ward. The role of the ward councillor then is to promote the needs of his or her community, to ensure that all the issues that people would want to see, whether it is lights, roads being tarred, walkways, cameras being installed, play parks, sports facilities, all that things that a municipality are responsible for and need to ensure that it gets addressed, that things form part of the IDP plan of the municipality. In other words, it's a plan on a yearly basis where the community give input to, and then it gets into the budget of the municipality. But the role of the ward councillor is to ensure that he or she fight for that specific portion. It's like a big pie. So a ward councillor comes, you fight for your piece of your pie because you represent your constituents, the voters, the people who said, we want Tani Rosie or Uncle Sam to be our representative. And that ward councillor has got the opportunity then to come in and represent and be the voice in the council chamber. Not only that, the ward councillor must also, as legislation is required, quarterly, so there's 4 quarters in a year, go back to the very same community and report back on issues of the municipality for that ward to say, okay, as the budget cycle of a municipality is annually, this is now what has been allocated from the various departments for our ward. From the technical department, we would now have upgrades with stormwater, and this is the amount of money allocated for it in the following streets. That is the responsibility. So the ward councillor must do a need analysis. I always say we're servants of the people, but the ward councillor specifically, you go around, you do the need analysis. People call you, you know, if it's upgrading of infrastructure, if it's the sports facility that needs a new fence, if it is the creche that needs a play park, if it is just open space that needs to be renovated. That is the responsibility of the ward councillor to ensure that it gets into the budget and, of course, monitor implementation. One of the key things is accountability. So the ward councillor does have that privilege to do oversight. Oversight in terms of, okay, this is the needs of the community that has been identified. It's in the IDP plan. It's now in the budget. 2 years has been allocated, or a project would run over 3 financial years. I now need to know and understand where are we at with this specific project. So that oversight role is part of the responsibility of a ward councillor. Then the ward councillor is part of the ward forum of the municipality, of which the chairperson is the speaker. And then, of course, the ward councillor also have a ward committee system which allows for him or her to have extra hands, extra people on the ground who needs to assist and see that there's a compilation of a needs analysis in order for the ward councillor to champion that.
You just mentioned the ward committee. So what's their functionality in this system?
Thank you very much for the question. So every ward, as per legislation, does have a ward committee system. The ward councillor is, of course, automatically the chairperson of that ward committee. The ward committee consists out of volunteers from the community. There's also an election process that gets done through the IC and in collaboration with the municipality to see that it is fair and just, where people would put up their hands and volunteer and say, I would want to serve our community. So it's a municipal committee where the ward gets divided into blocks. So people can put up their hand and say, I would want to volunteer for block A, B, C, D, or E, because I live in this specific area in the ward and I want to promote the needs of the people living in my specific block. It comes down to the ward committees then sort of being a part of the chain where the ward councillor would have the relevant support. Ward committees is the link between the municipality, the ward councillor, and the ward to promote information. Perhaps, people sometimes would say, okay, we missed that, or we were not aware. Then you would have a ward committee member that would communicate that. And we must also understand that our areas are diverse. As much as we have progressed with social media, you would find that there's communities that doesn't have access to Facebook. People might not have a smartphone, so you would have a ward committee member that would be on the ground and just go door to door to engage the residents and then take what he or she gets escalated to the ward councillor, and the ward councillor would then submit it to the municipality. The ward committee system, I can say, for my term of office, excellent. We've got a very good structure and support base through the Public Participation Office and, of course, also the Media Communication Office. A very first also for Mossel Bay Municipality in our term of office, where we took our capacity building sessions on site. So you would find that capacity building sessions would be normally a one-day a session in a hall where presentations would flow and people get opportunity to ask or understand, get some insight of what's really happening inside the organization. How does this department function? But we've now taken it a step further with the support of our portfolio chairperson, Councillor Leroux, who said, but why can't we do this? And this is now a first for me as a speaker. where we have successfully been able to take our capacity building sessions with ward committees being transported from one service site of the municipality. Go and see for yourself. That is what that's my slogan for it. You go see for yourself in order to understand so that you can better be a ward committee member. Go see our water site. Go see our jock center. Come and see how the municipal main building look like. Go and see how the parks operate, and those type of things we have now put in place, and we've got a very, very good functional ward committee system. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us in the studio today and sharing your insight and explaining to us your role as speaker. It was brilliant having a conversation with you.
Thank you so much for having me. I think for me, it was also a wonderful opportunity to share a bit with our listeners because it's important to keep our residents informed. Sometimes people would see me on Facebook or just a normal photo or in the newspaper, and sometimes people would watch our municipal Facebook page and read about the business of the municipality, but sometimes it's better if there's conversation to allow for people to understand. And I'm fortunate to have had the time this morning to be a guest in the studio, and the opportunity granted to me to speak to our residents and give them some insights. So I hope that you better understand the person behind the face and the name, and it is my pleasure to absolutely serve with humbleness the Mossel Bay Municipal Council and our community at large.